The TrekWorks YouTube channel is sponsored by HDA ModelWorks, suppliers of scale lighting products, detail accessory parts, and complete model kits. Visit HDAModelWorks.com today.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back. Boyd here with you. Well, this is part 2 of our Cylon BaseStar build, the Revell 30th Anniversary Kit. I'm making really good progress since the last video. You can see I'm starting to get the shape of the ships coming together here. I've got it up on the stand. The lower half is pretty much put together. I'm working on the upper half now. I'm going to go back and explain some kind of major changes that I made along the way, though. I'm never too stubborn about changing my plan on certain things, and I think that's a good trait to have. But we left off in the last video where I was putting in all that fiber optic. Well, I was continuing forward with that. I probably got about halfway around, and I started realizing, man, there's going to be a lot of fiber optic in this thing by the time I'm done, all the way, all the way around both halves on top and bottom. So that's a whole bunch. Not to mention over 40 LEDs, which that would pretty much clean out my whole stash of LEDs. So I went back and rethought the whole thing, and I thought, all the work that it's going to take to do it this way, if I would just go back and do it the way I talked about, the alternate version of putting just LED strips in here, and then lighting it up that way instead, that it was going to be a whole lot less time consuming and use a lot less material. And on top of it, if I had any light leaks, I was almost sure that the light leaks would take a lot less time to fix than it would to do all that extra, fiber optic work. Nothing wrong with doing fiber optics that way, and there's a lot of things, when I get back to the the Star Destroyer, I'll be doing a lot more of that. But in this case, I was just like, well, and it was kind of really slowing me down too. Like, it would have took several days to, finish all that up. So I went back and did my other method. You can see on this part right here, this is the top that I'm actually working on, just finishing up the, the whole painting pattern here. This is pretty cool too, because I thought it was all symmetrical, but it's not. Each panel here is a little different pattern on it. So I'm just, following the box art. I've got 2 panels to go. And then this will get a wash over the top of it. We'll show you that a little bit later. But here's what I did, basically in the bottom, same thing. I just used these strips of white LED tape, and you can see that leaves it a lot more open. We still have a lot of wires where they're all connected together, but we don't have a spaghetti mess of fiber optic in here. I mean, it was just going to be insane. And on top of it, I knew I was going to use fiber optic for the outer edge here, because that's the only way I could do this without getting crazy with too many LEDs or SMDs as well. All these little laser cannon emplacements all the way around are going to be able to fire. And so that meant either putting an LED or an SMD for each one. Now there's 8 on each, each spoke here. So that means 8 times 5, that's 40. So that's a lot of SMDs or LEDs to use too. And it's going to eat a whole lot more power, use up a lot more power when I run it, doing it that way. So I decided that the fiber optics were still the way to go for that. I've got this, the 2 red LEDs in there, and they're driving these. Now what I did, this is the control board, by the way. This is the Tenant Controls board that came in for that. It's Ralph's Hunter Killer board for the Terminator tank kit, and it's got 2 channels basically that fire. So what I did is I used the emitter coming off each one, and I started on each bank, and then I flip-flopped as I went around, all the way around, so that the one next to the one that's shooting is not going to fire at the same rate. They're going to look like they're kind of broken up and more at random, which will be more realistic versus my original idea of just using the soundboard to do that, because every time the soundboard makes a sound, the LEDs are going to flash exactly in sync with it. So that wouldn't have looked too good. It would have looked all right, I guess, but this will look a little bit better, and the board wasn't that expensive. It was worth it. And so the fiber optics for that are still in place here. I'm happy with the level of how open it is. When I'm just not feeling good about something, I just won't do it, even if it costs me a little bit of time and extra fooling around or whatever. I just decided I didn't like it and went the other way. So this is what you do when you do this kind of lighting stuff, a custom model that I've never built before, and you just kind of find the path as you work your way along sometimes. If I was to do another one, I'd know exactly what to do. But so that's how we have it, guys. It's looking really good. You know, the rest of the model here is coming along really nice. I'll power this thing up for you and show you that, you know, we've got the bottom built up the same way, and I'll just show you what the brightness level of the trench lighting looks like. You can see it down there, the window lights. I'm really pleased with the level of lighting now. They're just right for the scale. And then those little garage doors I talked about, I've got those lit up now. And you can see I used blue SMDs for each one of those. I tried doing it with just the glow from the other lights in there, and it just wasn't bright enough. And I painted it with some Tamiya transparent blue, and it just didn't look rich enough either. It just looked a little bit faded. If you use a warm white light, it will look a little bit better, but pure white always kind of washes those colors out. So the SMDs in there made a big difference because I wanted a little bit of a glow to come into these trenches like that. I think it looks really neat, especially in the shadows like that. And that worked out really good. Now up here, I'll turn this out. The circles here were solid on this, so I took my Dremel tool and I opened them all the way up, and matched them so that I had a nice smooth seam. The reason for that is, not only to pass wiring through, but this, down here in the very center core, if you were going to have light leaks in there, that would be really hard to reach in this way and fix those. So I was able to do it from the back side here. I just put a bead of glue all the way around, let it dry, and then painted over it with some black, and now that's all completely sealed up. No light leaks. It looks nice and clean around the garage doors for the Cylon Raiders and all that. And I'll turn it back on one more time, show you a little bit more of the bottom. It's kind of hard to see these until you get them in the right angle when you look, at the lighting. But, of course, in the camera, they look like they're glaring, but they're not. In person, they look really nice. They're just a nice, subtle glow coming out of there. I did a little bit of diffusion on those lenses and everything, so they look really good. But that's going to be cool. Now, up here on the top, like I talked about, I did a fading orange LED in the center of this, so it'll give a really nice, cool pulsating effect. And I'm kind of trying to, like simulate that's the ship's power core or something. That just, gives it a little something extra. And then I drilled 5 little holes here and put some fiber optic down in there to give it a little bit, little pinpoints of light too. If you look really close, that's the Cylon symbol in the middle of this thing, which they have on the wings of the Raiders, which I didn't notice that right away, but that's pretty cool. We put all a little greeley detail on here. So when I finish painting all the rest of this paneling, this is going to get glued down on the top, which I'm going to do off camera here and come back and show you how it looks all put together. Had very minimal light leaks around here. You can see one little spot of black paint. Turn the light back on. That's a spot where I had a leak, and I just took a little craft paint, left it kind of thick, and just dabbed it on there. And I had to do that in 5 or 6 spots, but it wasn't bad at all. It actually fit pretty good. It's fitting on the base really nice, really solid. I'm going to be working on the base, of course, putting all the little switches in and doing all that. But I'll come back and we'll show you the work getting this top part done. I've got to run a couple wires up through here and connect the momentary switch and the power. Then this will be ready to seal it up, and it'll all light up together, and we'll show you what that looks like. Be right back. All right, everybody, back with you again. You can see we got the model all in one piece now. Everything went really well. The top glued down onto the middle part there, really easy. Had about the same amount of light leaks as I did on the bottom part here, just a few small ones around the edges. Really easy to fix. I'll fix that and get that all, my paint blended back in around the edges. You can see I got all the detail done on the top here. All the patterns are looking really nice. I'm going to come back across this whole thing now after I pull all the tape when it's dry and do all my touch-ups, and I'm going to do a nice black wash on this to bring out all the nice detail. It'll match the bottom a little bit better. You can see it's lighter up here on the top than it is the bottom, and it'll start looking pretty cool. Everything is working out really nice. I got my wires pulled all the way through for the power and the momentary switch. Between now and the next video, I'll be working on the base, getting that all cleaned up, getting my switches put in and everything ready to go. So by the time you guys see it next time, it should be done. Here's a look at the pulsing light up on the top that I put in with the LED that I talked about. That's looking pretty cool. Just want to do like a little thing there. I'm not even sure if it was there at all on the filming model, but I like it. I think it looks cool. It looks like a little, trying to make it look like the power core or something like that. You can see the little the fiber optics I put in next to it there, next to the Cylon emblem. So that's pretty cool. Give you a look at the center of it here again one more time. Kind of hard to see all the trench lighting and all the window lighting now because tape's all over everything. But here's some of it on the bottom and everything. I got to do a few more panels on the bottom too that I haven't done in the blue yet. So by the time you guys see it next time, it should be looking pretty spiffy. I'm real happy with it so far. So I'll call this video a wrap, you guys. Hope you enjoyed following along so far. It's coming out really nice. This is quite a bit nicer kit than what I was expecting too, for being that old. It's really actually a really cool design, and it looks really sharp with all the once you get all that hull painting detail done on it. That took me about an hour or so just masking it and airbrushing it on. Looks pretty cool though. All right, you guys, take it easy. We'll see you next time. Just a couple more days, maybe Tuesday or so. I'll put out another video and show you the grand finale of this thing. It's going to be pretty cool. We'll see you then, everybody. Take care and happy modeling.